This episode is brought to you by Anchor. It's our little home for our show, and we want it to be your home as well. You can get started right now for free. They give you all the tools that you need, and they'll even distribute your podcast all across the globe for free to places such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many, many more. How do you get started? Well, you can go ahead and download the Anchor app for free, or you can get started for free at anchor.fm. That's right. You can either download the app, Anchor, or anchor.fm. You can get started right now, and we would love to hear your show. Get started right now.
Hi, this is Richard Neal. You know me as Aratak in Horizon Zero Dawn, and you're listening to Real Dudes Podcast.
And welcome to the Dudes Podcast. I'm the best host, Karrington, as everybody already knows.
Whoa.
I know, right?
All right. Wow. Okay. Guess I'm going to go back to eating Taco Bell.
There you go. So we got a full house tonight, people. So we got Kyle, as you already heard. Kyle.
Yep, that's me. The apparently the second best host.
And then we got Donovan in the house.
Hello.
As always, we got Cody.
Howdy, guys.
And last but not least, it's been a while. We've got Andrew.
I know. Fresh back from my enslavement term.
How was the farm, good sir?
Cruel and unforgiving.
I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm going to spice some
my
things up.
marriage.
Oh,
Pretty much.
Hey, I
shouldn't say that, though.
I know. He's married to my sister, so I hope not.
For the record, my marriage is amazing. FYI.
Good. So, guys, guess what I'm going to do?
What's that?
Everyone's favorite thing. And I want to bring in a guest. I know we got a full house, but I want to have some fun.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Go on.
All right. So I think I'm getting better at calling people in. I know in the past it's been random, but I'm going to shoot for the moon this time. I'm going to actually bring somebody in on command.
All right.
All right. I'm going to try it out. Here we go.
Oh my! How did I get here?
There we go. Hey, there he is. There he is.
Did you just say his name 3 times in the mirror?
Sorry,
I did.
sorry. I just was transported here naked. You know what I mean? I
Okay.
was a little in shock. You know, so
I'm sorry. My powers are a little. I'm still a rookie at this. So
you couldn't have transferred me some clothes too, man. That would have been great. You know, it's like straight Terminator style. Sorry, that was a throwback to earlier. Sorry,
There you go.
you guys won't hear that. You know, like.
It's the theme.
Maybe when I get a little better at this, I'll transport some clothes in later.
Yeah, start work on that next. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So who's all right? This dude's here. So I mean.
All right. Yeah, Kyle, you're right. You probably don't know this guy. This is the man. He's a legend in the speedrunning community. He's known as the People's Champion, even. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll present you to you, David, aka GrandPOOBear. Pooh, how are you?
Hello. How's it going? I'm doing wonderful. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited for this. This is the first podcast I've ever been on where there's 95 hosts. So
You're very welcome, by the way. Glad to be here first.
An entourage, if you will.
Yeah, there's an entourage of people here.
We'll each ask you one question, and that's it.
That's the whole thing.
Pooh, I'm glad that you were able to make it today. We have not had a speedrunner on yet, and you are the first.
How is that possible? I mean, speedrunning is so big right now. You got to get all the speedrunners on, you know?
Exactly. We're trying, and I'm just so happy that you were here and able to be randomly transported in here and be forced against your will to join us this evening.
Yep.
So I guess we're going to start off kind of softballs here and just kind of get into it. What got you into games in the first place before we get into the speedrun and stuff?
Well, I've always had a Nintendo in my house my whole life. My sister's 10 years older than me, so I was born in '85, and then in '87 she got a NES. And like, so it just was always in my living room from the time I can remember. And I was always playing Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. Those are, the two games I had. And then as I got older, like 4 or 5, it was the rent a game every weekend type of thing. I was definitely like that kid. And yeah, I mean, I've just always been gaming, I guess, my whole life. So, and because of Nintendo, like I've been playing Zelda since before I can remember. I've been playing Mario since before I can remember. Those are definitely have always been my 2 favorite franchises. Just for pure nostalgia. Like I've grown up with them, so yeah.
I do watch your streams sometimes, and I know Fire Emblem is also one of the greatest games of all time, according to you.
No, as far I have actually never met anyone who's ever played Fire Emblem before in real life. So I've never seen it played in the wild. As far as I'm concerned, it's just something that everyone says they do to look cool on the internet. I'm not a believer that Fire Emblem's a game. No, I mean, I don't have anything. No, I mean, it's not like I'm a big Fire Emblem hater. Like what you
Right.
like, I like some tactics games. Like they're cool, I guess. It's just Fire Emblem's just too much for me, I guess. The hair, that bangs in the hair are just, I don't know, can't get into it for whatever reason. Yeah.
I've never played Fire Emblem. I know.
See, you've never seen anyone that's played it either.
This is true. I'll
He's
admit,
actually
I've never
making
seen.
a fair point. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Everyone says they're like, oh, I play it on the 3DS. I play it on this. I see people playing Switches and 3DSs all the time. Never seen anyone playing Fire Emblem. So I don't know.
So everyone out there that's listening, I challenge you to play Fire Emblem in front of David here.
Yeah,
The
it probably will be.
Yeah.
So what actually drives you to play video games on like a daily basis? Not even just on stream, just in general. What gives you that fire to still come back to them all the time?
So as an adult, I really started to focus on snowboarding. I went to school at the University of Colorado, and then snowboarding was like everything to me my entire adult life. And then 6 years ago, it was 5 years, 6 years ago. I got in a really bad accident. I got hit by an out of control skier, and yeah, my whole life changed. I was in the hospital for 3-4 months, and
Wow.
and then I was in rehab for the better part of the next year. Broke my back, broke my knee, tore my MCL. Had a litany of internal injuries, and that was really why I was in the hospital for so long. Internal injuries can get pretty bad, it turns out, especially if there's infections involved. So, yeah, that was a thing, and I just after I got out of the hospital, and at first my friends were there all the time, but then I was living in Lake Tahoe at the time. And I don't know if anybody out there is familiar with Lake Tahoe, but it's definitely like a ski and snowboard town. And as soon as winter rolled around, I was super lonely. My wife was working, full-time job. I was in rehab still, so I was kind of just at home most of the time. I'd go to rehab for an hour, 2 hours a day, and then I'd be tired, and so I'd be sitting at home, and my buddy was like, "Hey, why don't you watch me play Halo online one day?" Just randomly, because I was super bored. I was texting him, and I this is gonna be this sounds really funny, but I was like, why the hell would I want to watch you play Halo, dude? Why would I want to watch you do that? I was like, I lived with you for 3 years, and I didn't want to watch you play Halo then, why would I? And so, but I did. I ended up watching him play Halo, and then 6 hours later, my wife gets home, and I'm huffing down a Magic the Gathering tournament like someone who just discovered drugs for the first time. And I was like, "Yo, I think I'm gonna play video games on the internet." And I was kind of a little bit familiar with it at that point because I had watched this guy named Bananasaurus Rex do this thing called the solo eggplant run in Spelunky. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but that was I don't know, that when I put 2 and 2 together, it's oh, that's where he did this. And then I was like, yeah, I want to play video games online too. Maybe someone will hang out with me. I'll have someone to talk to all day. And literally since then, I've just kind of kept the same schedule. And yeah, that was it. That was it. Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of jobs. It didn't become my job for 2 or 3 years, but I just always was lucky to do this same noon to 5 schedule until then. Yeah.
Oh, nice. And
Yeah.
real quick, because you had mentioned about snowboarding, so with games we have to ask. So, which one is it? 1080 or SSX?
Neither. Actually, the best
What?
snowboarding game is this game called Stoked. And it was on 360, and it's kind of like a version of Skate for snowboarding.
Okay.
Yeah, like a kind of like a broke version of Skate. Like like the frame rate's a little worse, and there's not super varied locations. But like as far as the way the actual snowboarding works and is like a simulation game. It's like the closest we ever got to Skate. And for some reason, it just like never caught on. Probably because like snowboarding games are always like, what do I want to say? The backgrounds always looks the same in snowboarding games, and that's the
Mhm.
biggest problem with snowboarding games because I think they actually could be really good, but they need to have like more varied like sunsets and backgrounds and way to distinct like make like so it's like this mountain might be like all sand, or this mountain might have like a blue tint to it. You need to have like a way to kind of like distinguish the mountains because they all look the same in snowboard games. Like
So-
unlike a skate game where you can kind of you know cruise everywhere.
So you're
Miss it.
unhappy with them going the EA route like they do on Madden and literally giving you the same game every time for full price?
What in like Stoked or
No, I'm just kind of making like the fact that you're saying that all snowboarding games are practically the same in that regard.
I just think all snowboarding games, and this is going to be a hot take right here, but I think as a snowboarder, literally all snowboarding games have sucked up to this point. And like this is going to sound really weird, but like in Steep, the Ubisoft game, which is probably like the most successful skier snowboarding game, the snowboarders ride with like this horrible stance. Like I don't know what snowboarder they got to make their stance, but it's like this really bad stance, and it drives me insane. Like I hate it so much.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so it just like really grinds my gears that happens, and I know that's like a weird thing to like be mad about, but like 100%. I don't know, like, and I think SSX like it's great, but it's like it's a really arcadey game, like nobody's taking their board off and kick flipping it in the middle of a in the middle of a thing, which is I mean cool, but I don't know, it's just and then 1080 is just like it's just a racing game with snowboards. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just a racing game with snowboards, So I also like Amped. I thought the Amped series, like Amped 2 and 3 were really good, but once it came out on Xbox One, that series kind of dookied out too.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it because I'm the same way with like airplane games. If it's too arcadey,
Oh,
like
yeah.
I won't mess with it too much, and I don't generally like those. Like the more something that's more like a simulation type thing. So I do get it. I do get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where did that love of snowboarding come from, though? I may have missed it.
No, I grew up in Michigan. I was born in Michigan, and my dad's a huge snowmobiler. So I was just always around snow my whole life. And then I went to high school in Kentucky, and I like immediately was like, I need to go somewhere where I can snowboard all the time. So I went to the University of Colorado, thinking like, oh, there's a mountain right out my backyard, but like you're still like an hour and a half, 2 hours from the mountains, really, like there. So yeah, so I'd like schedule all my classes 8-9 a.m. and then go snowboard all day and then drive
That's
home
cool.
every day. Yeah, and that's that. And then as soon as I actually dropped out of school my last semester, so because I realized I wanted to just snowboard for the rest of my life, and so I thought like, well, why wait? I can just go do it right now. And then hindsight, I was wrong about the rest of my life part. So yeah. So I actually still have one semester left in school, a little bit more than one semester. So
That's still impressive. I mean, really, basically, it's barring something that's kind of unforeseeable, you've had a budding career, is it fair to say, in snowboarding, and then you've been able to transition into the same in gaming. That's pretty incredible, really. I mean,
yeah, no, I mean it was I would have never been like a pro like rich snowboarder, but I could get away with like teaching and winning a competition here or there, and then getting some free boards and stuff like but I was always like a step behind of everything, I would say, when it came to snowboarding. So that's just it's kind of I don't know. It was almost like the gods that day were just like, all right, this is your last season. Boom. You know, like
yeah, basically time to move on to something
Yeah.
different.
You won't stop unless we make you. Boom. You know, like.
Interesting.
Yeah, I used to get hurt all the time too, snowboarding, because I would try and send it. Like, I would do my best to like catch up to these guys, and I just wasn't good enough, you know. So, yeah.
So is it fair to say that the injury was really a blessing in disguise?
Yes. I mean, it's kind of weird to be grateful for the literal worst moment of your life in some ways. But I mean, I wouldn't do it. Like, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't do it differently, because I definitely would not have followed the same path and been as lucky as I have been with Twitch. And I often say, like, snowboarding took like so much from me. It took everything from me almost. It almost took my life. And gaming has literally given me everything. So it's kind of funny, you know, the dichotomy between the two. And I still love snowboarding. Like, I've been like probably like 5 or 6 times in the last 5 years. I still love it when I go, and you know, I'll stay out all day, but it's just like 1 or 2 days now, because I'm just not in a position where I can get wrecked anymore, you know.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
So how'd you kind of end up where you're at with the gaming? Like, did you just have a natural knack for the speed running, or was that something you were like, oh, well, you know, that's something I want to become good at?
No. I started off playing a lot of like DayZ and Rust and survival games. I really liked Ark once it came out. H1Z1 battle royales. I did a lot of like Arma 3, Altus Life mods, which is like kind of like GTA roleplay, I guess, is what it would be the best comparison to that. But before Grand Theft Auto roleplay came out, I did a lot of like battle royales in Arma 3. I also like, I love like simulation games. So I love like Polybridge and Sims, any, you know, like old school Sim City, and just like any simulation game I really get into. So those are kind of like the first games I started to stream. But then, like, as I was like playing, I watch, like, I would always watch games done quick, and I always thought, like, I can't do this. And then this guy that what really got me hooked into speedrunning was this guy named Sinister Diz, a Punch Out blindfolded run.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was like, I was just like, man, I'm hooked into speedrunning. And then later on, this guy named Dram did a run of Kaizo Mario Brothers, which it just blew my mind, because I had seen like that on YouTube, and I thought, like, people can only do that with save states, so they can only do that with like computer tasks movement. You know what I mean? That's impossible for a human to do. And then he just does it in front of a crowd, having a great old jolly time. And all I thought, I was just like, man, if that guy can do that game, I can definitely speedrun my favorite game of all time, Mario 3. And
Okay.
so, like, right after that, I picked up Mario 3, and I started watching like streamers who were playing Mario 3 or speedrunning. And I was asking them like the dumbest questions, like the super most annoying questions. And I started to do it right away. And I just started to learn, like, level by level. And my goal was to be not last on the leaderboard. And I did that like week 1. At the time, there was probably only like 15, 16 names on the Mario 3 100% leaderboard. Now there's probably like, I don't know, hundreds at this point. And but I just wanted to be not last, and I beat that time, and I thought, like, man, this run sucked. I could do so much better. And it just, I don't know, something just clicked, and it became like a lifelong thing. And but even then, like, my stream didn't like take off. My stream didn't take off till Mario Maker came out, and I started playing this kid named Panga's levels.
Mhm.
And yeah. I mean, now I say kid, I mean, he's like, you know, one of the most famous streamers out there. But I started playing his levels, and there was only like 4 or 5 of us out there that could even beat them at the time. And I just randomly, I don't know, had the time to put into it or whatever, the motivation, and started playing a lot of Kaizo stuff. And as I'd beat a level, I'd get a little bit more notoriety, and then I get rated by bigger guys because I was playing the same thing they were. And it just started to kind of like take off, and I started to form friendships with, you know, Mitch Flower Power, who's like the best Mario 3 runner of all time, and someone I literally watched his videos wanting to be as good as him in Mario 3. He starts rating me and showing me love, and then Carl Sagan, and then Panga himself, and it just like started to snowball. And then yeah, and then that year I got to run in GDQ myself. So it was like basically like a year from seeing Dram, I ended up running in the next GDQ, which I don't know. It was a very lucky turn of events, you know.
Yeah,
that sounds all like
Yeah.
super surreal at the same time. Also,
It was
like it just kind of
very-
snowballed.
Yeah, it's been a very, and like literally since that GDQ, it's just been like this crazy like upward momentum swing. I don't know. Yeah, it's been insane.
You said, you know, when you first started out, you're probably asking like the most basic annoying questions, and I'm sure you get asked the same or similar questions all the time. So how do you
All the
handle
time.
questions when people like ask that? Does it excite you, or do you kind of like roll your eyes?
It depends on how dumb the question is, I guess.
That's fair.
No, if it's something like, okay, like here's an example. Jumping for the wand in Mario 3 is slower than letting it come down and hit you because the wand falls slower than Mario and Mario has to get to the bottom of the screen. But if you've never seen a Mario 3 speedrun, like everyone would think jumping for the wand is faster, right? Like everyone would think that. So like a question like that, I'm always like, no, you know, like you just got to answer that 100,000 times a day and just be cheery about it every time because who the heck would know that? Why would any human know that unless they like are obsessed with Mario 3? And then, but like on the flip side of that, like there's like when people tell me to do something in Mario Maker that is clearly not possible, I get
Oh man.
yeah, or it's sometimes like, and sometimes I know like someone's trolling me, so I'll have fun with them and play into it a little bit and let the, you know, like troll them back or just hit them with your mom joke or something. I don't know. Like I definitely like to mess around with chat a little bit. I think it's fun.
Yeah, it looks a
Yeah.
lot of fun a lot of times, especially.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of weird because sometimes when you're, at least on our side, when there's like that many people in chat, and I'm like, how does he even catch some of this stuff? Like, it's going so fast most of the time.
Yeah. Well, you get really good, like especially once it starts to like really travel after like about like 1,500 viewers when it starts to really just like be constantly moving, and you get really good at reading scrolling upwards. So like as the chat's scrolling away, like you just kind of hone in on one line, and as it's scrolling away, you read that line and hope it's something good. But sometimes it's something someone's like, you know, you suck, you should really win. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse on here. Like, yeah, you bleep me out, editor. I apologize. You know, it's like, yeah, but you should really win. Why are you so bad at this, streamer? You know, like just something. Sometimes it gets me. It's like, I wish I wouldn't have read that one. I wish I would have read someone that was nice. You know.
Yeah, I can see that. So with Mario 3 being your kind of all-time favorite on the Mario, when did you start getting into the ROM hacks and stuff that I've seen you do?
So after Panga, like after I basically like caught up to all his levels in Mario Maker, I was like, all right, well, what else has this guy made? You know, what else has he made? Like, just pump his content into my veins. And so I found out he made this ROM hack called Super Dram World, and it was just like this really. I was just like, whoa, Dram is the guy that inspired me to run this game or run, you know, speedrun it all. He made this ROM hack called Super Dram World. Like maybe I can be good at that game. And I mean that's when I started getting into ROM hacks, and it was really fun because up until that point, the only person really speedran ROM hacks was at that time was Dodecahedron here in America, and then there's one player called Calcos in Mexico who's better than all of us, by the way. He's the best player in the world. And it's a shame that he's like, I feel like his language barrier might hurt him sometimes on stream because he's so stinking good. But yeah, I just started to play Dram World, and a couple weeks go by, and I break the world record in that, which was held by Dodecahedron. And then he breaks my record, and then I break his record, and then he breaks, you know, and then we just had this like crazy record off for like 3 or 4 months. It was just the most fun time I've ever had, and that was it. I was just like, all right, I love ROM hacks. Like when a cool one comes out, I'm gonna try and speedrun it if I enjoy it, you know. So
I guess that brings me to another thought. What of talking about, you know, you setting that record and subsequently setting it maybe several times, you know, after that, what is your kind of crowning achievement in your opinion in the gaming world up to this point?
For sure, the money I raised with charities, like the runs I've been able to do at things like Games Done Quick and Calithon, and I actually have my own event, Mario Masters Coliseum, that's coming up. That's probably like my top thing is Mario Masters Coliseum, but just like all the opportunities that I've had to work with like so many incredible people to raise money for charity, and it's just like it's such a group community effort that happens, and I think I've had some runs that have done like really big numbers, and I'm very I'm proud of those runs, and so grateful that everyone's like put me on a stage where I could be able to to raise that much money for charity. It's really I've been really honored to be able to do that. I think that's the best part of speedrunning, honestly, is that it's such a collaborative community effort, and yeah, I don't know. That's definitely the thing I'm most proud of, I would say. We're actually doing Mario Masters Coliseum next week, which is just a community-driven Mario thing. It's just Mario players. We all pile into a house, and we did it 2 years ago on like a bare bones, like no $1,000 budget, and we raised 55 grand. And last year we did it again on like virtually zero budget. I think we had like $3,000, and then we raised 110 grand.
Wow.
This year they gave us a real budget. Yeah, and so I'm really proud of that, because that's just a bunch of dudes coming together to do something cool and hang out with each other, a bunch of dudes and girls, and that's the thing I'm like the most proud of to do. Yeah, for sure.
Is that I mean, specifically on your channel, or is that
okay? Yeah, it's on my channel, twitch.tv/GrandPOOBear, and you guys can watch September 5th through 8th. From 12 noon PST till 12 or midnight PST every night. We actually end every night with a game show too, so that's like the most fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, we have a concert to finish it all off. The guy's gonna be playing like piano and a bunch of different gaming things, so it's gonna be really fun. Check it out. But it's just like a ton of Mario games, and every once in a while we just like sneak in some other random game that's super fun that we could never play when there's not like not 20 guys in a house. So like a really dumb game. So yeah.
So like there's so many games to speedrun. Like especially nowadays, it seems like there's multiple games coming out in a day. Why is Mario your game of choice? Like what makes that special to you?
Well, I mean, I think there's a few reasons. Like we can't fault nostalgia. Like obviously I think nostalgia is going to be a pretty big thing in just about any Nintendo game, because most of us grew up with it. But also like the movement in the Mario games, like the way Mario jumps is pretty perfect. The way, and that's not just like Mario 3, that's Mario World, that's like a bunch of different Mario games. He's just like, it's just incredible the way he moves and jumps, and like everything feels responsive. I don't like I've played like Meat Boy. I don't really like the wall jumping aspect of that type of game, and I don't know. It's just Mario 3 is just like, it's so fast. I love that game so much. Mario like World is kind of like controls. I always say this, like it controls like a Ferrari. Like it's super tight and like quick acceleration. Like I still think Mario World's probably the best like platforming engine that's ever existed in the history of time. So, and that's including like Mario Maker. It's dookie compared to Mario World. Yeah. So I don't know. It's a lot of things. I actually like Zelda more than Mario. It's just speedrunning Zelda games is nowhere near as interesting to me as speedrunning Mario games. So, but like when a first play happens, my first plays of Zeldas are like, those are everything. Yeah.
Those are, yeah, definitely. Yeah. They're awesome.
Yeah.
I think are we all Zelda fans here?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
I was going to ask, what's your favorite Zelda so far?
Probably Majora's Mask is my favorite Zelda. And also it's the Zelda I haven't replayed most recently. Like it's probably the dead last on my like, if you put your replay like in first in order, it's probably the one I haven't played in the longest time.
That's really surprising. Why Majora's Mask?
It just felt so unique and wild, and I loved the different controls of all the different masks. I don't know. In the 24, like the time limit, like made you. I really like having to be forced to make a decision. And when you have like something like the moon's crashing on you and you warp back in time, like I loved the being forced to like, do you go on? Do you warp back? And also like time travel itself is just such a cool trope, in my opinion. Like who doesn't love Lost? I mean, you know, just because of the time. Like, I don't know, like I love outside the ending. But I love time travel is just a really cool trope. So I dug it. There's also like you can't save everyone. I don't know, like I like games that don't necessarily have like a great ending too.
More
You know, or
real
just
ending.
stories. Yeah, like a more real ending, like a story, like stories that end in a way that like would actually end in real life. You know, like
I
it's
get
not
that.
just like this cute wrapped up bow.
Yeah.
You know, and I really felt like it's a very like melancholy ending in Majora's Mask as well. So I don't know. That's definitely the one that just stuck with me. Obviously, like OOT is the bomb diggity, and Link to the Past is incredible, and Link Between Worlds is stupid good. But that would definitely be the one that I think stuck with me the most, like feeling once I was done with it, you know?
Yeah.
And I can't
Breath,
say too
Breath of the
because
Wild's good too.
oh yeah, Breath of the Wild is
Breath of
also
the
very
Wild
is very good too. Yeah.
With Majora's Mask, all of us here love like games that make you feel, you know, that are super
Yeah.
emotional. And I feel like Majora's Mask also hits on that, like hits on the heartstrings a little bit because every time
Yeah.
I see someone like speed run it or play it and they gets to the Zoras and the band, like that hits me every time. I don't cry, but it's like, oh gosh, that hurts.
Right? Yeah, there's just it's kind of a heavy game, you know? Yeah, like the game grew up compared to OOT in some ways, like story-wise. I don't know. But yeah, that's my favorite Zelda. My least favorite is easily Skyward Sword. That game sucks. I don't care what anybody says.
No argument.
Yeah.
So, gosh, it's hard to go. Okay, so anyway, my brother Donovan and I were able to attend an AGDQ. Our first was our first and only so far is 2015, back in 2015. So
Okay.
your first was, I think it was 2017 that you
2016 was my first.
2016.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you kind of go through what that was like, that experience, your first GDQ was like?
Oh man, I was so intimidated my first GDQ. I wasn't even a partner at that point, but I was pulling like 500-600 viewers a stream. And so I was super intimidated because the one thing that I was really confident at my first GDQ is I was the person who deserved to be there the least. And that's not like a knock on what I do. It's just everyone there is so good and it puts so much time, work, and dedication into their game. Whereas I kind of just got in there because I happened to play these hard levels and nobody else could do it. The second thing was like I was just like in awe of how approachable everyone was. I always thought like these, like to me they were like these legends of gaming, you know, these full-time guys. You know, I thought they were making tons of money, which that I realized isn't true. I just was just like amazed at how just like stupid approachable everyone was and how like nice and cool and how everyone wanted you to play their speed game. And that was like one of the things I really took from like that first GDQ. I got a ton of like autographs. I actually got Sinister and Zallard to autograph their what do I want to say, to autograph the Mike Tyson's Punch Out cart.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it sits on my wall right now. I still have it on my wall. And I had like Mitch sign a bunch of stuff, and just, I mean, I got so many autographs from so many guys on different carts, and I have them all collected. And that's kind of my thing, is I like to get other speedrunners autographs on their game.
That's something I never thought about doing, is getting autographs when I was there, because I did meet Mitch very briefly. He was great. And then I met Sinister also very briefly because he did a Punch Out run,
awesome.
as always. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that I'll always take away, is like a lot of the runners there, they're just super approachable, super nice, and they're like you. And Donovan and I also met Cosmo briefly, who used to be the god at speedrunning back in the day.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Narcissa. Yeah. So like, I mean, so influential to so many people. That was like the first, like, I think that like blew without Narcissa, that like GDQ would not be what it is today. And I think everyone kind of recognizes that in a lot of ways. But
Thank you for correcting me because I could remember
No, all good.
her name now. So,
But yeah, GDQ is just like, I don't know, it's just a very incredible, cool experience. I like, compared to like a PAX or something, I would go to GDQ 10 out of 10. Like, it's my favorite conference or event because it's just like, it's a big sleepover. It's just a bunch of people playing video games for 24 hours a day. And if you want to, hang out and party and drink a little bit, you can do that. If you want to just nerd out at the arcade, you can do that. If you want to learn a speed game, you can do that. If you want to play Windjammers all freaking day, you can do that. Like,
or Smash Brothers. If you want to play Smash Brothers,
yeah. Whatever you want, you can play it. That's what's so cool about GDQ. Yeah, and there's someone playing like Metal Slug or something like. Yeah, it's just really fun. Dance, like all the games.
I will say Donovan and I, we also got to play Smash Brothers with Narcissa, and he or she was the nicest. Still beating us to death at Smash Brothers, but still just the nicest person you could ever meet.
Oh yeah,
it was crazy.
There's a lot of really good Smash Brother players in the speedrunning community, like a lot of them. It's kind of intimidating because I only got into Smash for Ultimate, so I suck compared to them.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I feel you. When we played, man, I didn't even know spiking was a thing until that day. I hadn't even thought about trying that.
Oh my
and then I
God.
got spiked. I was like, I didn't even know that was it. That was a thing.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah, that's just a degrading moment,
It's like I'll never pick up a controller again for Smash.
Right? No, it does. It makes you feel like less of a human,
Would you rather get spiked or would you rather get grabbed by Donkey Kong and ran off the ledge with him?
Well, at least you have a chance. Yeah, at least you
Bowser.
have a chance to recover with Donkey Kong, I guess. But yeah,
Fair
Spike is definitely. I think Spike's like the most degrading thing.
It's crazy.
So, what do you feel is the biggest difference between streaming at something like GDQ versus streaming at your home base at home and your everyday?
Well, definitely
stuff?
the audience, I think, is the number one thing for me. I really love playing in front of an audience. There's a vibe and an energy off it that's just like very fun and incredible. I mean, the audience is very cool. I like playing in front of them. Whereas like when you're at home, like no matter if I could have 10,000 people in my chat, but it's still just me in a corner of my house. So it's just different, in that way. Also, there's no resets, so when I'm at home, I can just do whatever. I can reset it many times as I want. And when you're out in public, you got to just one run and done. So yeah, I mean more pressure, but like the one thing I've learned is that there can be beauty in a run going bad as much as there is in a run going well. That's one thing I've definitely learned. So.
Does it make you more nervous knowing that more eyes are on you, like physically there watching you, or is it just not even bother you at this point?
No, it doesn't really. I mean, my first GDQ, I was definitely nervous, and I get nervous before every GDQ still, but not the same type of nervous now. Now it's like a nervous excitement, whereas before it was like a nervous, don't screw up, everyone will make fun of you. Like now I understand that. Like I've had these really great, incredible GDQ runs, and I've also had some stinkers now, and I've realized that it doesn't matter as long as the run raised a good amount of money for the charity. That's the most important thing, and it's not going to make or break my career. I think my lowest moment is probably the moment that people will always remember me for. Honestly, at GDQ, will probably always be my most memorable run. Stomping Mitch's console. So yeah, I don't know. I don't worry about it the same way, I guess.
Okay.
But I definitely I worry about I have a tour now, and that I do worry about just because it's it's me and my tour, and it's something that's never been done before. So that I do kind of worry about in some ways, but still not nearly as bad as it was, I guess, the first time.
That's fair. I do want to talk about the tour in a second, but I just do want to say really quick, I discovered you because of a GDQ, and that's how I found out about you. Because I watch the reruns all the time, and one time I just fell asleep watching a run, and then I heard your voice, and I'm like, whose voice is that? I don't recognize that voice. I could tell it was Mario. I'm like, I know all the big Mario speedrunners, but who is that? So I just so happened to open my eyes, and I'm like, this guy's actually pretty cool. So if it wasn't for a GDQ, I would have never discovered you. And then I've been watching you ever since. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, GDQ is definitely like it's the best way to get noticed as a speedrunner, I'd say, or the easiest way in some ways. And I really hope like every speedrunner gets their GDQ moment. It's kind of like having a WrestleMania moment. If you're a wrestling fan, yeah, it's your GDQ moment, you know. So I hope everyone gets to have one. At this point, I've been lucky enough to have 11, 12 now, and so hopefully get one or two more in before they are like, all right, out to pasture, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure you got a few more in you for sure.
I hope so. It's getting harder and harder to bring something that is new to GDQ, and also like the Kaizo speedrun community is just like it's just grown. It's just expanded so much since my 2 dram runs, and so it's just getting harder and harder to get in. But I have a few more, and I think I bring something unique to every run I do. So
I think so as well. Have you thought about maybe? I mean, I don't know if you thought about crowd control to GDQ, if that's possible.
Well, yeah, we're submitting. Crowd control is getting submitted at this next GDQ. Not by me, however, but it is getting submitted. So I'm really excited about it. Hopefully, it'll get in. That'll be really special for me because I, help work on crowd control. So that'll definitely be a different type of special, I guess. So
and for those who maybe don't know what it is, could you explain what crowd control is?
So crowd control is a Twitch extension that allows chat to actually interact with the player's game. And if it's a Super Nintendo game, we actually can run it on console even. And we're going to have NES console and N64 console, hopefully before the end of this year, definitely early next year, support as well. But we support games like Link to the Past, Super Metroid, Mega Man X, Super Mario Brothers 3, SimCity. We support just kind of randomly. Dark Souls 1 we support, and like you can do things like it to the streamer. Like if you're a viewer, you can physically pay money to the streamer, and then their game will change. You can make their character fat, you can make their character slow, you can make their character fast, you can make the game harder, exponentially harder. You can change their weapon, you can change the gender of their character, you can just all sorts of just really silly and gameplay alterations that you can do to the gamer, and it's super fun. It adds a whole new like layer of challenge to it. So if you're out there, if you're a streamer out there listening to this, you should definitely check it out. It also really like helps the streamer monetarily. 80% of the money goes to the streamer, so they usually do pretty well. People usually do pretty well on it. We've noticed. So check it out. It's awesome. It's super easy to install too, and super easy to run on console if you want.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a really cool idea, and it's always a fun time either watching the stream or watching the YouTube vids of whenever you do crowd control. I think it's one of the best things you do.
Yeah,
besides Mario Maker,
really
of course.
Fun. It's all everything I do is great. Come on,
right?
No,
yeah, this is true.
No, it is definitely one of it's very cool and unique, and I'm glad like everybody can do it now. It's just a very awesome thing. Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of crowd control. So.
And I will say it was also cool when you also play other things. I remember watching you play through Dark Souls and things like that too, which is also fun.
Yeah. I love hard video games. I think I'm just a big fan of difficult video games in general. So that I've realized.
Have you had the chance to play Celeste? Kind of a more modern platform. Okay.
Oh yeah, I love Celeste.
So I was wondering, you being so involved with Mario, and that being a classic platformer, and we've had a modern platformer, a successful platformer, in my opinion, Celeste, come out recently. I mean, to you, how do the two kind of compare to each other? And do you think like that does justice for modern day platformers?
Oh, Celeste is incredible. Yeah, Celeste is one of the best games I've ever played ever. Period. And it's got probably the best story, and a very unique story that's like literally never been told in a video game before, which I loved. And to do that in an 8-bit video game is even more impressive. Like essentially like an old school pixel arcade game. Like arcade style look.
Right.
But I personally like. I think one thing that I really love about Celeste is like the movement of it is really, really incredible and varied, and the speedrun movement's even like more sexy. The one thing I don't like about Celeste and a lot of modern platformers actually is like the single room. Like it's always a
Yes.
single room. You know,
Mhm.
a single room, and then you do this room, and then you go on, and then you do that room, this room. And I think it's like, it's the desire to keep moving the player forward. But I definitely thought like my favorite parts of Celeste was like climbing the mountain at the end when it felt more wide open and more um, varied, I guess. You could string along a lot of level or a lot of movement together in one spot. And that's something I guess I would prefer, and like the Mario series so much for that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
the way that the Mario flows through the level is completely
Yeah.
fluid, whereas you
Yeah.
got that stopping point that goes onto the next screen with Celeste. But I
Yeah.
completely agree with the fact that the storytelling in the game is just incredible,
Yeah.
and you don't really see that in either retro platformers or even old school platformers.
Yeah. I mean, if you were like Celeste is the greatest platformer ever, I wouldn't like bar fight with you about it. I'd be like, you know what? That's a fine opinion, sir. So
So you mentioned about the tours, the Speedrun Sessions tour that you do.
yes.
So where did that idea come from, and so far, how is that going with the shows you've done so far?
Um, so that idea actually came from my first GDQ. All I could think of after that first GDQ was like, man, this is so cool, but it's a week long. There's only 1,500 spots open. Like, who can come to these? You know what I mean? Who can come hang out in a week for it? Like, why aren't people taking these to? Why aren't we doing more like micro events around speedrunning? Um, and so I like literally I said to a bunch of people in a room, I was like, "And we should do this just us at a bar somewhere." And everyone was like, "Yeah, it's a really great idea." And so I've always like was trying to figure out like how can I pay for this and make this something that's sustainable. And I really quickly realized like I need like I need someone to work with. And so over the next like 3 years, I basically pitched every company around, like any company that wanted to work with me. You wanted me to play your video game, you wanted me to, rep your drink or your headphones or whatever it was, I pitched them this idea. And generally they would say no, and I would also say no. Sometimes they would say, "Oh, that sounds like a great idea. We might be able to do that." Like an esports team I was on that is no longer in business, probably because they make promises they couldn't keep. And I don't know, I kind of became obsessed with it. And then, uh, fast forward to late last year, and I started getting approached by Red Bull about about potentially coming on to be a Red Bull athlete. And it's a very long process with Red Bull. It's not like anything else in gaming. Gaming's like, like, hey, you want to be sponsored by this headphone company? 2 days later, there's a contract over. You know what I mean? Like Red Bull was like months and months, and we'd fly out, fly here, fly there, meet this person, meet that person, um, and finally, when it's getting close to like shit or get off the pot time with them, I meet the guy who would be my partner manager, and I pitched him this idea like before we even like sat down at breakfast. I was like, all right, this is what I want to do if I get signed with Red Bull. Like, I want to do this event. And he goes, dude, you don't even need to be signed with Red Bull. We could do that event here in Portland next week. And I
Whoa!
was just, I was like,
Nice.
all right, I love you. Whatever you are a god to me. Whatever you want to do for like, I trust you. Like, let's make this happen. And so that was the very first thing. As soon as it became like official, that I was going to be signed with Red Bull, that was the very first thing I started to work on. And I was just like, all right, what do I need to do to make this happen? How can I get like the best runners to make this happen? How can I put on a successful show? What's the right time length that I can show off a good amount of my community, but also, like not get people be bored. Um, all these things, that I was thinking about. And over the next 3 months, and it just kind of all came together, and we did our first one in Portland, and the idea was to do one and then like try and see what other cities we could do it in that would make sense based on numbers in Portland. But we had 50 RSVPs in Portland, and we ended up putting close to 400 people in this tiny little barcade.
Wow.
There was a line out the door. People couldn't get in. And so immediately the next call we got was from MGM Grand at Las Vegas, and they wanted to do one.
Whoa.
Oh man.
So I was
Wow.
like,
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm not going to turn down Vegas. Like, who wants to turn down Vegas? And so it just, after MGM Grand, we did Lollapalooza. We opened up Ninja's Lollapalooza thing for him. And then we just got back from doing one in Hawaii, in Honolulu, Hawaii, which worked out with like, we kind of opened for another Red Bull event called Party Wave, which was super awesome. I was a celebrity judge for Party Wave, which was really fun. But Honolulu was like, it might've been the best crowd we had yet. It was packed to the brim. Hottest bar I've ever played video games in. Hottest I've ever been playing video games, period. It was extremely warm, and but the crowd was just like so appreciative and grateful, and like they kept saying like, man, nothing ever comes out here. Nothing ever comes out to Hawaii. We never get gaming events, like yada. Everyone was just like in it, and they were there from the time the doors opened till the time our thing was done, and it was just awesome. The crowd was insane. The response has been just incredible. Each time we do it, we've packed the place, and we're just so super grateful that people want to come see speedrunning. And it kind of like is like a, I always thought like if we brought speedrunning to people, they would come watch it, so I'm very happy that theory, was proven true.
So your field of dreams moment, if you will.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's just like we just needed to bring a high class event with runs that people wanted to see, into the right venue. And also like there's not a lot of gaming events that serve alcohol, I found out. And that's like super integral to my event, is the fact that we serve alcohol, and I want everyone to drink, like, yeah, that's like something I very much am pro having at it. And it makes our runs a lot better. So.
I can't argue with that at all.
I've got to ask then. So,
Yeah.
Ohio, when are you coming?
I was about to say the same thing. Yes.
Well, we did just do Chicago at Lollapalooza, but I do want to do Chicago. I'm from Detroit, so Detroit is probably the next Midwest city I want to go to.
That's still not too far.
No,
Okay.
I will say I have 2 planned for this year, and I definitely want to do a 3rd and maybe a 4th before we finish out the year. So we'll see where else we're going, but
Okay.
I would say Detroit is probably going to be the next Midwest city we do, and even then it probably won't be till next year. But I definitely like, a goal of mine is to like, I want to go to just like every city, like even if it's not Honolulu, Hawaii, obviously. Like I want to go to every city and bring speedrunning to everybody that I can, and yeah, I mean, I could go to Cedar Point and hang out for a day. That'd be really fun.
There you go.
So,
See, there you
yeah.
go.
Okay. Getting closer.
I was gonna mention there's a bar here recently that had Bit Brigade play,
Oh yeah.
which I've never seen that, but it's incredible.
I want to do one day. I really want to do like Bit Brigade or Super Soul Brothers or like one of those video game bands. I want to do a speed run with them playing music behind me. That's something I've always really wanted to do.
Such a great idea for speedrunning to master those two together.
Now, in the middle of all of this, you've also appeared on the React channel a couple of times as well.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? 'Cause I've been watching the React channel, I don't know, 10 years, I'd say, going now. And to see you was a huge surprise because you didn't, as far as I know, you didn't announce it or anything. I was like, oh, look, there's two.
Yeah, no, they don't want you to announce it till it comes out. It's
Okay.
something that they're very, they're very adamant on. But React is super cool. They're really awesome. I never like met Fine Brothers or anything. They don't. Yeah, it's like it's an intense production. I think there's like 80 people that work there.
Wow.
And like 20 dogs as well that work there. Just like cute office dogs. And,
that's not a bad thing either.
Definitely my favorite part about going to React. as the office dogs. But it was really, really cool. It's like one of those things that opened up probably because I'm a quote unquote Red Bull athlete now. Just being associated with that name, I've realized has brought a lot of opportunity. I guess I would say, because people want to be associated with that brand too, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's probably not an opportunity I would have got otherwise, but it's been really, really cool to get to do it. I did like the pros versus Joes one, where I pretend to not know what I'm doing in Mario 3, and then we race a level, and that one was really fun. And then I did the kids make Mario Maker levels, and that one actually was. I was kind of like, oh yeah, I've played levels just like I know I know what we're about to play, guys. Yeah, I get what's about to happen, you know. So I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I gave a good reaction to that one, you know.
Fair enough. Now,
Yeah.
during those, the second one where you did where the kids made the levels, did you see any others filming as well, or was it just you and you did your thing and you left?
No, just you. You go in and you have like an hour or so, and they film you, and then they'll tell you. They brought me in last, so I knew everyone else's
Okay.
like scores at the end of it. But yeah. Then there's like 4 or 5 different filming studios, so they have a bunch of different videos that are filming at any given time. And then like another cool thing that I really love that they did, and it's something I really want to steal in my own home studio, is they have like 4 different backgrounds that they can just roll, that are all in rollers, and they can just roll it in. And that's how like all the different
Really?
backgrounds are shown. Yeah, it's really cool. They're like probably like the size of like an Elgato green screen backgrounds, and then they just like frame it perfectly so they're in frame, and they got little markers on the ground so they know where to roll them. And it's really cool. I really, really like that, and thought I was like, man, that's such a smart genius idea, so they can like have the different types of backgrounds for it. Yeah, I loved it. Um,
That's
yeah,
incredible. I didn't realize. I knew they had a studio and stuff, but I didn't realize they had it
yeah.
down to a T.
Oh yeah, that's the one thing I definitely took from like being something like React Channel, was how just professional it was. And you know, like there's always stuff I can learn, you know? Like I'll never have it all figured out, and I want to learn. You know, I'm a nerd, I'm a gamer. I'm not a artist or producer or director or anything. And to be able to like steal some of those, you know, bits from them was really cool and beneficial, I think, in the long run for me. So 10 for 10, anytime React calls, I will go back and react to whatever they want me to react to.
I look forward to if you
Yeah.
end up going back in the future.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of all we have at the moment. Unless anyone has any last questions they want to ask David, real quick.
Sure.
Or are you gonna
Yeah.
ask him something?
No. So for you getting into speedrunning and stuff, do you have any like words of wisdom, anything that you would give to anybody that is an aspiring speedrunner? Any pro tips?
I think the biggest thing about speedrunning is as a viewer of speedrunning, I think you focus a lot on the victories, and as a speedrunner, sometimes you focus a lot on the fails, which I think it should be opposite, because like speedrunning is 99% of the time you're failing. And but every time you fail, you can learn something and acquire some new knowledge. So don't feel like anything you did was like wasted or anything like that. Speedrunning is just like it's patience more than anything. Anybody can do it. It's just patience, and then how far you want to push yourself. And I don't know, just don't be nervous to try it out. It's speedrunning's the shit. The communities are awesome. So yeah.
I can wholeheartedly agree. If you wanna, before I send you back away, Pooh, you want to plug all your stuff real quick, your social media, your Twitch channel, and all that stuff.
You can find me at GrandPOOBear Instagram, POOBear on Twitter. You can find me at GrandPOOBear on Facebook. People still use that. I'm not sure. My wife runs it. You can find me at GrandPOOBear on Twitch. You can find me at GrandPOOBear on Twitter. If you put an H after Pooh, you won't find me at any of those places, so don't do that. But yeah, I upload a YouTube video every day, and have for 3 years. I stream 5 to 6 days a week, assuming I'm not traveling. So every day at noon PST. So check that out. And yeah, keep gaming.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to say before we send you away? Any last things you want to plug? That's any upcoming events or anything like that?
Just check out Speedrun Sessions coming to a city near you. You can also check out Mario Masters Coliseum happening September 5th through 8th, and that'll be on my channel. It is going to be the silliest charity marathon you have ever seen. Please check it out.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And
Cool.
away you go.